I'm at middle of the book march, and this is my bookish week for Saturday, February 25th. I swear, I look at the calendar every single time right before I hit the record button, and I never remember it. I mean, that's got to be a symptom of middle age, right? I think it is. Look at what my hair's doing today. It's getting long, but it makes it so that I don't know what to do with it, and the cowlick starts being very noticeable. Anyway, now, I'm going to wrap up Mama Day, not with any spoilers in this video, but if you are a member of the Blind Eye Book Club and you don't want to hear my initial thoughts on this book, then you don't have to watch. But by the time the video goes up, I will have posted my thoughts on our Voxer thread. So you can go there and start interacting with that. So Mama Day is by Gloria Naylor. And this book was published in 1988. So this is our second Blind Eye Book Club book pick, because it's been on my shelf for so long and I walk by it. So I picked it as my second book. I also wanted to pick a book by a Black author for February for Black History Month. This is the story of Mama Day and her sister Abigail. Now, Mama Day's name is actually Miranda. And they live across the street from each other, and they're both elderly sisters. And Abigail's granddaughter is Ophelia, who is called Coco. Now, Coco escaped to the city. She went to New York. And they live on an island called Willow Springs. But it's kind of on the line, on the midpoint of Georgia and North Carolina. Georgia and South Carolina? One of the Carolinas. I'm assuming it's South Carolina. But neither state claims this island because it's basically divided right in half with the border. So Willow Springs is an island unto itself. There's a rickety old bridge that connects it to the mainland, but they are their own community. They are their own... They administer their island all by themselves. And Miranda, Mama Day, and Abigail were born on the island. And it's just an absolutely beautiful paradise, according to most of the residents. But there's something unusual about Mama Day. She is kind of a healer. She is a de facto doctor for the people, the residents on the island. And there's something magical about her. So she is kind of one of the narrators of the story. There are a couple of different perspectives. And at one point, it's questionable whether she's the narrator or a narrator, or if we're hearing her story, or if it's an omniscient narrator. But we also hear the perspectives of Coco and eventually the man she marries, George. But Coco and George want to come back to the island because she wants to show her grandmother and her great aunt her new husband. And there's so much plot. I don't want to say too much, but I loved it. I loved this book. There is definitely some magical realism here. It doesn't take over the entire book. So if you're not a fan, the entire book is not filled with magical realism. It's definitely there. There's a lot of conversation about slavery and which residents of the island are descended from slaves. There's a whole, almost a family tree, and there's actually a family tree diagram in the beginning of the book. And here's the map. So here's the map of Willow Springs. And then there's a family tree right here. And Mama Day and Abigail are right there. And Abigail was the only one who had children. Miranda, Mama Day did not. So Abigail had 3 children, and Coco is the grandchild of one of those children. But there's so much of the past in here. There's so much family history. There's also a line of generational trauma And there's a lot of looking back to how they grew up, the home they grew up in, why they're living the way they are, and the rest of the residents of this island of Willow Springs and how they rely on Mama Day. Gloria Naylor writes beautifully, and I just absolutely love this book. I first read The Women of Brewster Place a while back, and I thought it was very good. I really enjoyed reading that novel. This one, I think I love this novel, and I think I love it more than Brewster Place. But her writing is just descriptive and poetic without being obtuse or confusing. Just beautiful sentences. The characters come alive. She brings the characters to life on the page. And as she's writing, you can imagine that these characters have taken lives of their own. And she's just performing the technicalities of putting the words on the page. And it's so dynamic in that respect. I just absolutely loved the book. I loved the character of Mama Day. I loved what she said and how she said it. I loved how she recorded family history. And I loved the interaction with her grandniece, Coco. There's a whole storyline of how Coco meets her husband, what their relationship is like, what it means, and how it's part of the bigger story of Mama Day. I just thought it's such a beautiful book, and I'm so glad I finally read it. Okay, what did I finish? I finished 2 Booktube Prize books that I can't talk about. The first one is Half American, the epic story of African Americans fighting World War II at home and abroad by Matthew F. Delmont. I also finished Paradise Falls, which is the story of Love Canal by Keith O'Brien, subtitled The True Story of an Environmental Catastrophe. So, and I'm also currently reading 2 other Booktube Prize books. And I'll show you those right now. I'm reading River of the Gods by Candice Millard. It is genius, courage, and betrayal in the search for the source of the Nile. And I am also reading electronically, let me see if I can open this up a little quickly. I think I can. The Story of Russia by Orlando Figes. These books are all for the Nonfiction Prize in Group D. And once this octofinal round is done, I will be posting a video of all of my thoughts on my Booktube Prize reading. So what else can I talk about? I also finished an audiobook called Fallen Mountains by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. Now, I just finished listening to her book, These Silent Woods, last month, which I absolutely loved. And I listened to that one as well, and the narrator on that one was Bronson Pinchot, and I absolutely loved it. I love the story, I love the characters, I love the narration, the sense of tension. And this one is Fallen Mountains. It's set in a similar setting, kind of a rural farming, lots of land, and different story. It's still kind of a mystery. I don't want to call it a thriller because it's not fast-paced and plot-driven. It's very character-focused. And the way Grant writes, she writes from multiple perspectives, and she goes back and forth in time. There's an event that happens that is the central point, almost kind of like the main, what do you call that? The mast in a ship. And that's the central area. And then the book keeps going back and forth between after and before. And it's an interesting way to write the story because towards the end of the book, they converge. Those 2 timelines converge, and we find out how the plot wraps up. And this is the story of Chase and Transom, who were childhood friends. And we find out that Chase's grandfather just passed away, and they find out the financial state of the family farm. And there's so much here with a history, a family history, alternate characters. These are people that knew each other as children, and they've never moved. They've grown up together. There is definitely a defining event in the story, And we, like I said, we go back and forth and we were piecing together how that happened and what happened. There's a local sheriff that takes a central part in the narration of the book, and he has a very big part in the plot, the central plot. It was very good, different narrator, so I didn't like it as much as These Silent Woods, but I definitely enjoyed the story. I like how Grant writes, I like how she describes, and I like how she kind of manipulates the characters and their actions, and I also like how she shows the reader their growth arc. So it was a very good story. I didn't love it like I did her previous one, and I think this is her earlier book, but I really did enjoy it, and I recommend that one as well. I also read a short story, Mother Swamp by Jesmyn Ward, and I have to admit, this came up on like an ebook bargain list, and all I saw was Jesmyn Ward, and I'm not that big of a short story fan, but the title was interesting, Mother Swamp, and it's a Jesmyn Ward story, so I figured this is only going to take me half an hour to read. I'd love to try it, and I really did enjoy it. This is a kind of a story of a group of women who have either escaped slavery or avoided slavery in the swamps of Georgia. So it's set kind of in the 1800s, but we also learn a little bit about the time prior to that. And they form this society, and it's very different, and it's very matriarchal. It tells us how they go on to have children, what those children mean to their community, what happens when they can't find mates, and what the whole purpose of this very closed community is. I thought it was really creative. I thought it was very well written. Jesmyn Ward is a beautiful writer. The language that she uses and the words that she picks for her sentences, it was just a beautiful story. And I'm really glad I read that one. So that's everything I finished or am currently reading. And I wanted to give you a reminder, starting on March 1st, we're starting our new Blind Eye Book Club pick. It is going to be for March and April because it's kind of a chunky book. And this is A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. And coincidentally, there are other booktubers who are doing a read-along of this book. I'm not sure if any of them will take part in the discussion because our discussion for the book club is going to happen in April, at the end of April. So for any of the Blind Eye members, if you're watching, you can read this at your pace. You can spread it out over 2 months. You can read it all at once in March, or you can wait until April to pick it up. You can read it in 2 weeks. You can read it in however much time that you want and need to take to read the book. We will be discussing it towards the end of April. And I will be posting an update in April as to what the next 3 book choices will be for the Blind Eye Book Club. But this book, this is the book that moved me to create the book club, the Blind Eye Book Club. I have had this book on my shelf forever. Maybe not this particular version because I think this is a reprint of that cover. But this book was first published in 1995. And it was also an early Oprah book club pick. And I bought it years ago. I bought the red and black and white version of the cover, and it just got so beat up because I had moved so many times. And I think after one move after another, it just got so beat up. And I eventually found this one at a super duper deal of a price, and I replaced it. So, Blind Eye Book Club, A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. It is our pick for March and April. And if you have any questions, let me know. You can join the book club at any time you want. So if anybody's still interested and they want to get in on A Fine Balance, let me know. You can step in to the club and step out at any time. There's no obligation. Maybe I'll charge a membership fee and then you have to sign up for a year. No, I won't. I'm not the gym. So that's it for me for this week. Let me know what you think about any of the topics I discussed. Let me know of any of the books that I talked about. If you have read any of my Booktube Prize books, I won't be able to comment with any of my thoughts. But let me know if anything sounds interesting or if you've read something already and you loved it. I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.